Nozintombi Miya has more on this story.
Well, a very good afternoon to you. We are here at the ISS headquarters where the release of the report into police conduct at the Marikana tragedy in 2012 has just concluded. And we're speaking to SERI, the socio-economic rights group, to talk to them about what their recommendations are. You'll remember that SERI is representing 36 of the families of the deceased miners that were shot and killed by the police. Now, what SERI has said that has been quite interesting is that they believe that police were not fully held to account for their actions, and they're calling for further punitive action to be taken against the police, specifically the commanders, the instructing commanders that gave the order to shoot on that fateful day of the 16th of August in 2012. We're joined by Nomzamo Zondo, who is with SERI. Nomzamo, thank you so much for joining us. In your submissions, you spoke about how the police still need to be held accountable for their actions. Tell me more about that.
So firstly, as we speak today, not a single police officer has been charged for the killings on the 16th of August. Even worse, not a single police officer has been, since the commission finalized, has been disciplined within the SAPS for action they took in the massacre. What we do know from David Busu's report is that some of those officers discharged R5s up to 25 times. There's officers of the 57 officers that shot at scene 2, at least 31 of them shot more than 4 times. You would expect that the SAPS would have wanted to have an account of why those shots were discharged. In fact, in the commission, they as SAPS accepted that they would have to account for each and every shot. In fact, President Zuma, when he requested the terms of reference for this commission, he asked that the precise facts and the precise circumstances which led to the use of any force, which includes both lethal and non-lethal. So when we speak about scene 2, we're speaking about 295 lethal shots. Leave everything that was non-lethal. But what we have is that the police have failed at any level to explain how 16 of the miners were killed. But
and
we
16 at scene 2.
But there's 16 of the 17 at scene 2. But what we have is that, for instance, we do know that Mr. Tobile Mpumza, there is an explanation. There are 3 identified shooters who gave evidence. There is evidence from other policemen who witnessed the incident. There's video footage of the incident. So you have sufficient level of evidence to actually criminally prosecute for that killing, but unfortunately that hasn't been done. But that and the reason for that we will sort of understand, because the families have been trying to engage with the NPA and IPID for the last few years. But in 2017 September, we had a meeting with IPID, we had a meeting with the NPA, and IPID's position was that they were directed not to engage with the families of the deceased, but who could speak to the NPA. The NPA's position was, unfortunately, these prosecutions are confidential, and any information that you will get is information that we are willing to give out to the public.
Now, the past 6 years has been extremely difficult for the families that you represent. Tell me more about what has been happening with the families. Have they been able to start healing from the process?
Look, it's very difficult to heal. It's difficult to accept an apology for someone who's never said sorry, especially in instances where you have said, I require an apology from you, which is what the family said. But 2, we know that the families emotionally have struggled with this, with the outcome of the massacre. But we know, for instance, that 2 of the kids committed suicide in the last 3 years. We know that some of the widows, just soon after the massacre, had miscarried. We know that some family members had died purely from hearing the news. So there's the loss of life has continued for the families. They haven't had their breadwinners, at least for 3 years. They struggled on next to nothing. And now, of course, some of the widows work in the mines, which means that not only did those children lose a father in 2012, but they've lost a mother figure.
Yes. Let's talk about reparations. We do know that this year specifically, the current president has spoken around the issue of reparations, and there's been a backwards and forwards. How much is it that the families were given? Are you able to give us that figure, and what is the way forward?
So the families have been offered a figure of 69 million for 35 of the 36 families for loss of support. This is the income that the families that the deceased minors would have earned in their lifetime, right? So it's not really a reparation, because it's in fact what would have been due to them, the earnings. But beyond that, and that amount comes to 69 million. In that amount, so there's one family that's been offered nothing. The next amount is about 142,000, and then if you it ranges up to about 3 million rand per family. And then the state has also offered 500,000 rand for general damages per family. The families have instructed the legal team to do an assessment of quantum and see if this amount is reasonable. But the families are saying this, understanding that one, the families in the Life Incident incident were offered 1.2 million, were settled 1.2 million by the state. They are aware that the other family in this incident has been offered a figure that is probably over 1 million rand. So it doesn't make sense to them why they would be offered half a million rand. We are, of course, then waiting for that advice, and we'll communicate with the state on whether or not we reject or accept the offer.
Speaking about the family that was not offered any reparations or any financial compensation, why were they not offered financial compensation, and what is the way forward in terms of that?
So the person who died was an orphan. He grew up with his 3 siblings, and while he worked in Marikana, he sent money home to support his siblings who were already adults, so they were over 21, and supported his nieces and nephews. The state attorney took a position that says because there is no legal duty of support, they would not compensate that family. But the reality is there was a loss. If in fact it's Tobile Mpumza who's that gentleman, if he had not died, then his family would still have his support right now.
Right.
And we are pursuing that in the court.
Thank you so much. That was Nomzamo Zondo from SERI, just giving us a little bit more information about what their presentation here at the report presentation by the Institute for Security Studies were, as well as giving us a little bit more information about financial compensation for the 36 clients, whom are the families of the 36 miners that were killed by police in the tragedy that occurred on the 16th of August in 2012 in Marikana. For now, it's back to you in the studio.